Hello and welcome to the first of our national election debates. This is an initiative here at Times Now which we hope we will continue right up to the general elections, up to voting, and hopefully the debates we have here will have a direct impact on the way people vote and the way people think. Now, what are these national election debates? The idea of these debates is to pick up one issue, a pressing issue, an important issue, an issue that is relevant to you, an issue that is relevant to the Indian voter, an issue that will impact the way that you vote. These debates, we hope, will provide an opportunity to ensure that there is as much as possible a direct sense of clarity on the positions of the principal players in our national political scene. We here at Times Now will make sure that in the course of our national election debates, both of India's principal parties, and I know this can be controversial in today's day and age, but the BJP and the Congress are present in every debate, and the presence of the other parties and other players will be issue-specific. Over the last 6 months, there have been several talking points where, there has been a constant debate on what really is the subject that people will cast their vote on. Before I tell you the subject for our first of our national election debates, I first want a round of applause from the audience for our panelists here today. Thank you very much. And I will just introduce them. These are men of, they have long years of experience, and they are not short of aggression when it counts. 2 points here as we start our first of our national election debates. And I repeat this, the views expressed here are those of the political parties they represent. They cannot be called later to be individual positions because the representatives here are all authorized or appointed by their political parties to speak on this very important issue. Secondly, Times Now will ensure to have as much as possible plurality and balance in points of view which are integral to this debate and as far as possible in the representation of our panelists. We will give full opportunity for everyone to have their say. Ladies and gentlemen, our first national election debate is on the very important issue of corruption. And our subject for the first national election debate is this. If corruption is the #1 issue in this election, is the UPA on the back foot? Firstly, I want, even before I introduce our panelists, I want a show of hands. If corruption is the #1 issue in this election, is the UPA on the back foot? How many of you agree with that? That's a large number. Not all, but a large number. Thank you. So Mr. Anand Sharma has a tough job on his hands. I want to introduce our very eminent panelists who are here with us today. From my extreme right, Mr. Sitaram Yechury, participating in the first national election debate, a familiar face, political veteran. He joined the Communist Party of India, Marxist, in 1975, arrested during the emergency, joined the Central Committee of the party at a very young age, if I'm not mistaken, in 1984, was elected again at a very young age to the top levels of the CPM Politburo in 1992, today part of the party's parliamentary group and has been representing the party in Parliament in the Rajya Sabha. Sitaram Yechury, thank you for joining us. A round of applause. Representing the views of the left, very integral in our national politics. To his left, not ideologically, only physically, is Mr. Anand Sharma, who is now a Union Cabinet Minister in charge of the very important portfolios of commerce and industry and textiles. As a member of the Rajya Sabha, has had a very long association with politics and the Congress. He was one of the founder members of the NSUI. He was president of the Youth Congress in 1985, had a very successful stint when he was appointed to the Foreign Affairs Ministry in 2006, held the key portfolio of information and broadcasting in October 2008, and has been in charge of the Commerce Ministry since 2009, is one of the senior-most members of the Union Cabinet, and still an upcoming face in the Congress Party. Anand Sharma, it's a pleasure to see you on an election debate today. Thank you for coming. Thank you very much indeed. And to my left, you may have seen him on many of our News Hour debates. I would say that he's one of the most aggressive faces that one has in Indian politics, at least on television. Mr. Piyush Goyal is a chartered accountant by profession. He's a BJP MP in the Rajya Sabha. Part of the young brigade of the BJP, he is also a member of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Finance and is the national treasurer of the Bharatiya Janata Party as well. So at a young age, a young achiever in the BJP, Piyush Goyal, thank you very much. Thank you for participating today. Now, format is Our format is actually very simple, and I'll just explain it to you briefly. We give 2 minutes as introductory comments, and we'll allow 2 interjections after that. Please do not interrupt the first or second or third speaker while they are in flow in the introductory comments, unless you feel they've made a factual mistake. If they made a factual mistake at any point of time in the debate, you say fact check, and we'll interrupt the debate. We'll have a show of hands in the middle and towards the end of the debate. The challenge for Mr. Anand Sharma is really in an audience which feels that you probably will be on the back foot on the issue of corruption. I think it is only correct on my part, Mr. Anand Sharma, for me to ask you to open the debate with your introductory comments on the subject. If corruption is issue number 1 in the election, is the UPN, your party, on the back foot? Mr. Sharma.
Well, the fact is, Arnab, that for the last few years, we have a shrill and very negative narrative in the country. A narrative which is targeting politically the government of the day, creating a perception as if every decision that has been taken is wrong, every intent is nullified, and those in the government are not connected with the aspirations of the people, their concerns or their anger. I would say, with all respect, it is partisan politics, it is a partisan narrative, and the truth is otherwise. It's not a question of being on the front foot or the back foot. We have all played cricket, and I was good at that on the front foot. But I can tell you one thing, that you have to be holistic in your approach, not be selective, not be carried away by words or decibels, but to look much deeper in the history of this country, how societies have evolved, how economies have evolved, developed, and what kind of challenges this country has faced and how the systems have been put in place. You have to look at the architecture. Architecture, A, which responds. There's angst amongst our people, particularly amongst our youth, and we are conscious of that. And why? It is about the deliverance, about the public services, the interface with the government, whether you need a driving license, a passport, whether you want to create a bank account, whether you want to pay your electricity bill, whether you want to get a good job, a good admission in an institute. When you see that you are not getting your right, when you see that there is corruption, when you see that those who should be more responsive and receptive are not, there is bound to be anger. And that is the anger which India is witnessing. My fundamental question is, has the government, which is chosen by the people, been responsive? Has the government been proactive in putting in places both transparency and accountability? The answer is yes. Whether the government is empowering the people, the answer is yes. Therefore, it is important that when we analyze this, we look at all these aspects, that what has been the response, what has been the legislative action of the government, what has been the executive action in this noise that has been lost.
Well, you don't blame yourself at all, Mr. Sharma?
Well, I will say that when I said that in every country, in every society, in every economy, you learn as you grow, as you move on. We have learned over a period of time. Don't forget that the Prevention of Corruption Act, when it was enacted, when it was amended, when it has been re-amended, when originally corruption as such was part of Indian Penal Code. It was taken out and a separate act was there. Systems have been put in place from CBI, more functional autonomy, the Central Vigilance Commission, the Comptroller and Auditor General, a free press, a free judiciary. Now when it comes to blame, I would blame myself or the government if there has been a perceived or alleged act of commission or omission. If there has been an allegation of corruption, has there been an action? The answer is yes, and a very firm yes. Nobody has been spared. Is there a rule of law? We are a rule-based and rule-governed country, and the due processes of law have been set in motion without fail.
With respect, I completely disagree with you, but I am not allowed at this stage to be participating in the debate. One of the rules is that I will not involve myself in the debate during introductory comments. Rebuts from any of our panelists who'd like to go first.
At least one quick one.
Do you have
senior to me.
Okay, specific rebuts to Anand Sharma?
After you, after you.
Okay.
My humble submission was only small. I hope 67 years after independence, particularly having ruled the nation for 55 years out of that, you will grow out of school and into college and maybe graduate from college because the learning period is too long. No, you did talk about learning, but I think...
What's your question? If I take away the sarcasm, may I request you to come straight to your question?
The question basically, sir, is
Mr. Sharma.
You have tried to divorce yourself from the actual corruption into the action you took on corruption or the acts you passed to prevent corruption in the future. I think what the public is really concerned about is the very fact that under the watch of your government, particularly in the last 10 years, the amount of scams, the number of scams, and the real value of loss to the national exchequer has exceeded all historical
I'll have to respond to
and that causes agony.
I just want to say one thing. There's a 45-second limit on the question itself.
Let me be very clear on that.
Yep.
This is competitive sensationalization and exaggeration. When you say that we have not learnt, you came in with much wisdom and were there for 6 years. Let the country know what you did. When you had a party president caught with a hand in the till, when you had your ministers caught red-handed, you are not saying that what action your government had taken, including when it comes to the coffin scam after the Kargil. So your BJP has double standards and hypocrisy.
Let him complete his reply.
George Fernandez has been acquitted
hypocrisy and double standards.
Mr. Goyal,
Number two,
let him reply.
It's not a question of loss to the state exchequer that people will determine, and I hope the audience will ask us this question. One is a presumptive loss theory. Second is, what is the truth? What is the ground reality? We have created a situation where an entire sector has been destroyed by the presumptive loss. As a result, 2 auctions have failed because your auction prices, reserved price is 249 times higher than Germany and more than 800 times higher than the spectrum auction price of Singapore. Now, which is the loss to the exchequer? Who is to determine? I know that Piyush is a chartered accountant, but don't tell me that you have done your accounting and homework.
Well, I think today the Congress party has come prepared to turn on the aggression on this one. 1 minute, 1 minute. As I said always, the audience participates and the applause that goes here at this point of time on the national election debate, 7 minutes into the debate is for the quality of the argument, if I'm not mistaken. I will allow a second counter question here, and I am very tempted, Mr. Sharma, having met you on a debate after a very long time, to cross swords with you.
No.
But I think we'll leave this duel for a little later. The second counter question Sitaram Yechury had for you, to your right. Mr. Yechury.
Well, I'll reserve my other comments on what he had to say when I make my introductory remarks. But one question I have, since you wanted us to ask the question directly.
Yep.
But most of the actions that you have been speaking about that the Congress party or let's say the UPA government took when acts of omission and commission have been pointed out were all actions that were taken very, very reluctantly. We had lost one entire session of the parliament because you refused to constitute a joint parliamentary committee to probe into the 2G scam.
Right.
And it's only reluctantly forced by the unity of the opposition and the people's demand that you finally agreed. So therefore, your position that you have shown great alacrity in terms of taking action is factually incorrect. And you have done it only under public pressure, but not otherwise. Otherwise, the effort was to cover up the whole issue. And that is a fact.
Right,
No,
Mr. Sharma.
that's not true. When you have a system, when you have Arnab Goswamis, when you have 740 TV channels, when you have a very aggressive media, that too engaged in its own competition.
An independent media, Mr. Sharma.
Who gets the viewership more? An independent. And the judiciary, then there is no question of a cover-up. But you cannot just, the first whisper, hang somebody. You cannot prejudge. You have to go by the due processes. And what I am saying,
fact check is allowed, please. Fact check is allowed.
Yes. Remember, it was not the first whisper. It was only when the CAG report was made public, it was tabled in the parliament that the demand for a JPC into the 2G scam arose. So it was not the first whisper. It was a constitutional authority that showed 1,76,000 crores of rupees has been siphoned off in this scam.
Well, thank you.
Right, wrong, you accept.
Thank you.
Exactly. That's a different thing. It's not a whisper.
Let me also tell you, Sita, you are a veteran parliamentarian, so am I. Let's be very clear about it. A CAG report is only a CAG report.
Correct.
The concerned departments have to respond. It's meant to be not leaked to the public and then given to Parliament. It is the Parliament then which decides what action to
Again,
take.
fact check.
I'm sorry.
Again, fact check.
No, fact check is allowed. Fact check is allowed. I allow the fact check.
There are three stages of the CAG report. First report, you send a questionnaire. The ministry replies. Second report, you give it to the ministry for answers. They reply. Third report is the final one that is tabled on the Parliament. This was the final report we are talking of, not the initial report where the ministry had to give it. So it's a final report.
The minister has a chance to have a final reply.
No,
yes,
I'll
please,
have
go
to
ahead.
give the reply. The final report ignored the government response.
That may be.
The final report did not reflect the factual truth. Now, allow me. Third thing, which is very important, the collective wisdom, if I may say, and the subsequent judicial overreach, where we even saw the highest court of the land appointing a public prosecutor.
Yes.
When you are talking of a fair trial, we had a situation where presumptive loss theory of 1,76,000 crores. Now today, who will take responsibility for the painful economic consequences, the entire telecom sector, where you have the cheapest mobile rates in the world, two auctions subsequently, that wisdom which the government did not accept, that this was the loss to the exchequer. There's a policy which had been in place for long. It was not a policy which was put in place by the UPA government. Let me correct it. Therefore, after that, there is nobody who is coming for the bidding. I said so that your price, reserve price today, thanks to the wisdom of these people, is 849 times higher than Singapore. Let those who are responsible for this be given the mandate by the country. Let them preside over an auction and recover this loss to the exchequer.
Well, Mr. Sharma, we just heard the Prime Minister last week say that in any case, regardless of whether scams have happened or not, they got re-elected, and presumably, therefore, your argument is that scams don't matter.
You're asking me. I'm representing the Congress, and I'm speaking now.
And I'm just saying this to you. I'm just very tempted to break my own rule at this stage and say that we can argue about the exact amount of loss, whether it was in lakhs or whether it was in crores, but it cannot be denied